Okay. You got a question?
No,
Okay.
I was.
You okay? I know. You like you getting ready. You getting okay. Like you had your gun in your holster. So, okay, let me start right here. Is this too much? Are you with me?
It's still good a little bit.
Is anyone not with me? Somewhat.
Maybe by Sunday.
Huh?
I said maybe by Sunday.
Not Sunday. Am I going too fast? Okay.
No, it's just a lot to absorb at one time. It seems like
You said what?
a lot to absorb at one time.
Yeah. I mean, but really it's the same thing. It's the same thing over and over again in different ways. Let's go a little bit further. Okay? So Exodus. So we looked at Genesis. We looked at Exodus 3, now Exodus 20. It's the same pattern. Then God spoke all these words, saying, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other gods before me, and you shall not make for yourself a carved image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, and that is in the water under the earth. Nor shall you bow down to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children to the fourth, the third, and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing mercy to thousands to those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. First commandment, you shall have no other gods before me. Second, you shall not make for yourself a carved image. Why? You know this.
Self-serve.
What?
Self-serve.
Well, not yet. Yeah, but I'm looking for something. Yeah, we shouldn't be self-serve. But why can't they make an image of God? Exactly. Because you can't capture it. You can't capture silence. So once again, you can't capture the void. Don't try to depict the void, because no matter what you do, you'll fall short. So from the very beginning, we see in the commandments, in the Decalogue, these are called the Decalogue, the 10 Commandments. There are 113. There's 613 commandments, depending on how you divide them in the scriptures. But these are 10. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself. The whole point of the carved image, the whole point of the idol, is because there is nothing that you can ever do to capture, you limit God when you try to capture God, and the silence can never be captured. So the silence always must be, there's always an uncertainty, there's always an unknowability, there's always a void about the silence, and that's what makes it vibrant and energetic. So we see this in the second commandment, and then we see all these other commandments: honor your father and mother, not murder, not commit adultery, not steal. What is this? Creative. Be creative. This is the creative power of the word. Creative power of the word. Creation is happening. Creation is happening. So God speaks, voice, vibration. God commands that no attempt be made to capture the voice, to capture the vibration. Never attempt to use the vibration for empty purposes. So God speaks, the voice, the vibration. God commands that no attempt be made to capture the voice, to capture the vibration. You should not make for yourself a carved image. Never to use the vibration for empty purposes. Never take the name of the Lord your God in vain. The commandments are not a do or don't list. They are formative vibrations in their very nature. Don't capture the silence. Allow yourself to be formed. Allow yourself to be shaped by the commandments, by the vibration. They're formative vibrations. And then we see, once again, remember the Sabbath, to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor, do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God, and in it you shall do no work. You nor your sons or your daughters. Interesting. You nor your son, nor your daughters, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle. In other words, I want all of you to understand the rest in the Sabbath, because I want everyone around you, I want everyone in your circle to be aligned with, to be restored, to be connected to the vibration. Even in your household, your cattle, your stranger, the stranger who is within your gates. Even the folks that are just strangers in your city. I want to make sure that everyone, you're surrounded by people that are in line with the vibration. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth and the sea and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. This is it. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Hallowed it. Made it holy, made it separate, but I'm going to go a little bit further. Emptied it out so that in it you can return back to the silence which created you, which gave you life, which will prepare you for your next season. God hollowed the Sabbath day out so that it could be empty, so that it could be voided, so that it can propel you back to the silence, which leads you back to the creation, which is going to make what's needed for the next thing in your life. But you're too important, so you want to keep on doing 666. And you know what 666 is?
Yes.
Now you got your hand. Is that your hand? Okay. I just heard you. Go ahead.
So it's easy is a strong word, but it's easier to identify when you tell us that this is the scripture that we're looking at, so we can break it up into sections.
Right.
But how do you identify it in your life? Like, how can you tell it's time for the Sabbath, or I'm in the creation phase? Like, how is that? Is that later?
We get that. We get that. But the first thing I want you to understand is that there is a template, there is a rhythm, there is a standard, and we got that. We do understand that on the base level. There is a rhythm that we should be in, and we'll talk about, because what we're talking about is really discernment. How do we discern to shift from one to the other? Yeah. And that's important. But first, see, a lot of people don't understand that this even exists. And that's the problem. So you just keep on doing, even people who are, good people and raised in church life, they don't understand the significance of practicing Sabbath and how to do that. We haven't really talked about, we're just talking about a very superficial way. We got to talk about what does that really mean. But therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath and hollowed it out, made it empty, made it void, so that you could rest in it, and that void can return you back. So that void literally can lead you to be created. To be created. See, what we miss is we don't really teach the way we should, is that resurrection in the Christian sense is different from resuscitation. And we don't teach that in the way that we should. See, resuscitation means basically you got the same stuff, and I'm going to basically breathe new life into you so that you can continue to do what you're going to do with the same stuff you have. But see, that's not resurrection. Resurrection is basically creating a whole new person. And God is not interested in resuscitating us, basically all the old stuff and just continuing to do 666. God is interested in resurrecting us, and that resurrection is a monthly thing, a weekly thing, a daily thing. We're always seeking to be resurrected, to be created. And the only way that we can be resurrected, the only way that we can be created is if we reconnect to the vibration. And the only way that you can reconnect to the vibration is by getting back to Sabbath. That's the only way. That's the only way that we can be created. So that's the only way that we can be resurrected. And for something that is so important to the Christian faith, we really haven't preached the resurrection is not a spiritual, it's not the spirit just floating up in the sky. It's the body, it's the mind, it's the spirit, it's everything. It's the whole person. It's the whole person being made new, being created, and it only happens in the midst of Sabbath. It only happens in the midst of Sabbath. 067. 067. Okay. The commandment to remember the Sabbath is not really about relaxation or even resting in the modern system terms, but it but it's about dwelling in stillness and silence so one can reconnect to the source of the vibration. So one can reconnect to the source of vibration. To neglect the Sabbath is to risk being confused or lost in 1,000 other vibrations. So there's no silence, there's no silence, there's no stillness in our lives. Therefore, we are always a servant to the loudest sound or vibration at that moment in time. We have to be a servant to that. Jason.
I was, one example of what you just said is as though we were children, how we were with our parents or our father and mother. When we were tired, a lot of times we would rest in their arms.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about it, even though we're the age that we are, we're still children in God's eyes. So I kind of relate to that. And you say rest is, it's almost like the poem when the person was walking on the beach and they only saw one pair of footprints. They got where it was you.
Mm-hmm.
I was carrying you.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that. And the picture I got when you said that was us resting in his arm
Mm-hmm.
and him talking to us, and we communicate to him, and we just enjoying ourselves in his arm
Mm-hmm.
and just letting him, talk.
Yeah, just being there. Yeah.
Because even with my son, when he's asleep in my arm, I still talk to him.
Uh-huh.
Because most people say, oh, he's asleep, and I hear you. Spiritually, he will hear.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely agree with that.
Consciously, he may not, but spiritually, he will.
I definitely agree with that. Yeah, we did a whole year of dreams, so yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think we worked on that one. That's true. So, okay, so the Decalogue model, and then y'all, I'm almost done, and y'all gonna get out early today. Decalogue model, no image, creating words, Sabbath, the void day. So same thing, just in different words, but it's the same pattern. It's the patterns throughout the scriptures, and we see that we're going to see as later on what the prophets is. One of the things that the prophets give us is the prophets give us a return to this structure, the return to this rhythm that was lost. Whenever Israel, it was still in the Hebrew scriptures, gets off course, it's always because they have lost sync with this rhythm of notes. So you have the silence, you have no image, you have creating words, you have Sabbath, you have rest, you have stillness, the void day, and then returns back. It's always getting out of this rhythm. So these are just different. The Moses model, the Genesis model, Decalogue model. These are different ways of saying the same thing. So let's sum it up. The religion of Jesus begins with the sound, the voice, the word, the vibration. Behind the sound, the voice, the vibration, the silence, the stillness. The silence and stillness behind the vibration can never be captured. Can never be captured. Now that makes more sense now?
Yes.
Okay. We return to the silence and stillness to wait for the vibration to create us again. And that's what we're doing. We return to the silence and stillness to wait for the vibration to create us again. See, a lot of us have it all back. A lot of us, we think we're waiting on God, but actually God is waiting on us. God is waiting on us to return to the vibration, to return to the silence, so God can do what God desires to do. God is waiting on you. You think God, hurry up. God's waiting on you. Because creation only happens from the silence, from the stillness, because any other way we are lost in a world of 1,000 vibrations. And whichever one is loudest, that's the one that will shape us at that particular time. All right, I think that's a good place to stop. Questions, comments? Silence. Okay. Good way here. Our by the end of this week, I will send out the notes to everyone on the list, so, I mean, it will all be caught up. Tuesday and Wednesday class, by the end of this week, Tuesday and Wednesday class will be on sync. And then we'll go next week, and just to give you a heads up, we're gonna be, now that we understand the vibration, the sounds, we're gonna learn a meditation technique that's gonna connect us to the vibration. So, and we're gonna practice that for the rest of our time together. So we'll be doing that, hopefully we'll do that at the beginning and the end. So I'm gonna carve out some time for us to kind of do that, so we can start giving you something very practical to get into what we're talking about. So I didn't lose you. Okay, good. All right, let us stand. We're already facing east. So I got, this 13 minutes early, so I'm gonna put these 13 minutes in the bank. Oh, that's time. Assuming a prayer posture, remembering the words that Jesus gave to us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Solid